Rax, do you need to play a video first? Hello, everyone. We are back on the Bharat Army podcast, the Fan Dusra. And we've got quite a bit to talk about today. Has anything exciting happened in Indian cricket over the past week or so? Don't know. Don't think so. We'll have to get into the nitty gritty of talking about what's happened. So let's check out our cricket connoisseurs who are live this week to talk about our preview of the South Africa series. Well, let's see who we've got on today. So we've got Rav back on the podcast. How you doing, Rav?
I'm a bit tired this morning, early start, but ready to talk about hopefully quite an exciting tour.
Quite an exciting tour indeed. We've got Sanchit back on the podcast as well this week. Sanchit, you were actually at Wankhede. How was that experience?
Well, it was pretty ordinary experience for a fan. I mean, basically, you're seeing a guy take 10 wickets. I mean, that happens every day on a normal Monday, right? So it was pretty normal, I guess.
Pretty normal Monday for a cricket fan. Why not? We've got Jinesh back on the podcast. How you doing, Jin?
I'm doing well. How are you? Looking forward to the India Test match. So yeah,
Test cricket, Test cricket.
exactly. Can't beat it.
Proper cricket. And we've got fresh from landing back in Delhi today. How you doing, Ahan? You all right? Bit tired?
Yeah, a bit tired, but always happy to debate cricket and especially recent developments in Indian cricket.
Yes, indeed. We'll have to talk about a certain other player from Delhi today. I wonder who that's going to be. But anyway, let's get started just talking about the recent India-New Zealand series, which happened. Obviously, India winning that series 1-0. Let's start with you, Sanchit. Obviously, briefly touched on how the second test was in Wankhede, but what was your thoughts on the whole series and stuff? Do you think maybe India kind of missed a trick by not winning that first test as well?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, when the last half an hour came in that Kanpur Test match, you would have expected India to take that last wicket. But credit to New Zealand, I think they were exceptional in that last session to manage a draw from that. But yes, I did fear the worst going into the Wankhede, knowing our track record recently and my track record whenever I am at the Wankhede. So, but it was a pretty comfortable win after all, and the entire hype was all about Kohli's 71st at the Wankhede, but someone else managed to take all the limelight. I mean, Ajaz Patel 10 for this is like once in a lifetime kind of event that you'll ever see in this cricket, in this sport basically. But and to watch it live from the stands, I mean, it was exceptional. And on top of that, we also got to witness another history in Pujara hitting a six right in our stands. So maybe I would rate it just a little bit higher than Ajaz taking a 10 for. But overall, a great series and really happy with the series victory, I guess.
Wonderful. Yeah, I actually saw Rahul Dravid hit consecutive sixes once in an ODI. That was quite the sight, I must admit. Rav, talk about making us feel old. Once in a lifetime experience of the 10 wickets. Do you remember Anil Kumble taking 10 wickets back in the day?
Yeah, I do. In Delhi, obviously, against Pakistan, and the memories there. A very good two-test series there. But I think obviously there've been some good points about the first test match. Obviously, India could have won that on a pretty flat wicket that didn't really deteriorate as much as we would have probably wanted on a typical day 5 Asian track. But obviously, New Zealand are a quality side, and Rachin Ravindra played really well to deny us at the end, the man who's named after both Sachin and Dravid. I thought New Zealand, to be fair, they came into the series knowing that India's home record was so strong, but they performed pretty much as we would expect. Obviously, they missed Kane in the second test, which was a big blow for them as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Jinesh, what did you make of that test series against New Zealand and how we fared?
I think points lost. I think whenever India play at home, they should, be whitewashing oppositions. I think we batted very poorly in that first test match, which meant we never had enough time to, bowl the opposition out. And I also thought, no Kohli in that first test match. Did it have an impact on the field? Like, at the Wankhede, you just saw an extra spring in the step in the field. There was more intensity, which was lacking. And, it's like can you really have a captain that's like struggling for his place? So maybe that played a part as well, especially after Shreyas Iyer hit the ton. You could just tell that Rahane was under some immense pressure.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Ahan, you have long been an advocate for Shreyas Iyer in the Test team. He had a great first Test, great debut. Not so great second Test. It was okay, but a good overall start for him in Test cricket.
Yeah, definitely. I think the right player. I mean, a lot of good players scored runs, and it was a lot of players whose places were under question or were breaking in. So Mayank, yeah, Iyer, even Gill scored a couple of runs. But I'm happy to see Jin praising Kohli's captaincy because we'll get to that later. But I think um, it was for India. It was more points lost. I agree with that because I think in WTC, when it comes to WTC, you have to try and win as many as you can at home because it is tougher to win away. So I think when you have our opponents 9 down with 2 left-handers in and Ashwin bowling in the last 45 minutes to an hour of a Test match, you should be closing the game out on most days. So, I mean, it was a good series. We got to know a few new things. We got some players back in form, but I think overall it's probably a missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity indeed. I think most of us would probably agree with that. So, looking forward then, now that New Zealand series is behind us, is our series against South Africa. We are going to be playing 3 tests in South Africa, and we've obviously fared pretty well overseas in Test cricket in the past few years. We've obviously won twice in Australia now. We are 2-1 up against England now with that next test in Edgbaston on the way next summer. Let's not get started on that. But this is obviously an Indian team which is priding itself on being quite dominant overseas. So 3 tests in South Africa, we're really asking ourselves, are we strong enough to win in South Africa this time? And are South Africa kind of weak enough for us to be able to win over there? So let's take a look at the squad that has gone over there. The test squad for the tour of South Africa, we've obviously got a stellar line of bowlers there. As you can see, with the batsmen, Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Mayank Agarwal, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Rishabh Pant, Riddhiman Saha, Hanuma Vihari making a return, and Shreyas Iyer as the batsman. Our bowlers are Jasprit Bumrah, Ishant Sharma, Mohammad Shami, Shardul Thakur, Mohammad Siraj, Umesh Yadav, Jayant Yadav, who's Virat Kohli's favourite player at the moment, it seems, and the all-rounder Ravi Ashwin in there. How about that? So, a few players missing in there, a few big players missing in there, but, we should hope that squad is enough to get us over the line in South Africa. So, guys, let's just talk about the overall lineup of those players, which is, which we've just seen over there. Let's start with Rav again. Rav, what do you make of that lineup going to South Africa?
I think it's as strong as it probably could be. Obviously, we know there's been a few injuries to the likes of Shubman, to the likes of Jadeja, etc. And we know, obviously, that fast bowling is going to be quite important out there. Obviously, we've got Shardul back, probably as the seam bowling all-rounder. Jadav makes a squad, which is quite interesting. Whether or not he'll play, I mean, I can't see him playing a test other than maybe Cape Town, but even there, I think they'll probably go for a 4+1 combination there as well. So Vihari, interesting one. I think that he's gone to the A Tour. He's gotten quite a lot of runs there, and I think if I'm honest, I think that and this is going to be probably quite controversial. I think it's worth Vihari having a look because he's gone there before. He's got runs already, and also Vihari's last Test match was Sydney, where he played very hard to help us draw a Test match. So I think there's a lot of options for the team. Obviously, we've got KL back, we've got Rohit back as well, and that should they both did well in England. Hopefully, they can go on from there against what is going to be a very, very hard South African attack. You're going to have Rabada, Norkia, Ngidi, Maharaj probably, and those 4 will represent quite a big threat. In the first 2 Test matches are being played in the high veld of South Africa, where the ball definitely will move around, and then afterwards, hopefully, Cape Town New Year's Test will provide a bit more threat for maybe somebody like Ashwin. So I think there's certainly enough to give India concern, but I think with the time we have, we should be confident of going over there and doing the business.
Yeah, Jinesh. Ajinkya Rahane is in the squad. I don't think there was any doubt about him being selected. Is he going to play? Is the question.
Hopefully not. I think. Look, I think again we come to an overseas tour where we're blessed with a great bowling attack, but I still feel it's a 50-50 series because our batting is really, really poor. You know, you've had even like, for example, KL Rahul, he had a brilliant tour of England. However, with that brilliant tour of England, he only averaged 38. 38, is that brilliant? I don't think so. Mayank Agarwal scored in India. Um, he's always scored in India. So can he do it in South Africa? Will he be selected? I think Jadeja is going to be a big miss because Ravi Ashwin outside of India, not the same threat. And the way he bowled in Campo, 30 minutes to two left-handers where, you had a flat pitch that couldn't attack both edges. He showed he struggled. And Ashwin outside of India, can he do what Jadeja does with the bat? Now, Jadeja, people will say, okay, in England he averaged 20 odd, but he faced a lot of balls. I think Ashwin played one test in England, which was the WTC final. We had to survive 5 overs to get the draw when he came out, and he played the most ridiculous cover drive ever, right? And nicked it behind. So Ashwin abroad for me has a lot of question marks. I guess it's this series he can prove whether, because in England there was this big hoo-ha, especially at the Oval, why he was not there, and rightly so, he wasn't there. The guy that replaced him, Takul, did the job. India leading 2-1. So I guess he'll answer the questions, has Ashwin really changed? And I think that could be the pivotal point in this Test match series.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, lots of questions about the squad going into this. Sanchit, do you feel like we're actually in a good enough place to win in South Africa at the moment?
Well, I would definitely like to believe so. I mean, I remember back in 2018 when entire hype was about this team. I mean, we have been pretty dominant in Test cricket right from 2015 onwards. And that 2018 tour, I feel we should have won at least in South Africa and England. But let's not go back to that again. But I do feel that this is going to be the time where we actually look to win this series and not be just happy with one or two wins in this South Africa tour, because I do remember we were quite unlucky with the toss last time we toured down there. But the last Test match gave me positive hopes from the series to come. And this team, I'm really disappointed that Jadeja actually missed out with an injury. I mean, it was very untimely. I remember watching him from the stands in Wankhede. He was clearly in discomfort. He was having a talk with Rahul Dravid, and that was when we knew that it doesn't look good enough for him to make the trip to South Africa. So Jadeja is going to be a big miss, not just as a bowler, but the overall squad combination might be just altered because we are going to miss Jadeja. I mean, we all love to see a 4+1 kind of a combination like we had in England, but will we back Ashwin the all-rounder in that combination? I really wish to wonder, because I do want to see 4+1 and one being Ashwin as the spinner. But will the team management go with that? Because I have a feeling that we might go a little bit defensive, at least in the first match, and play six batters, an extra batter. I'm sorry, in that first Test match, playing just four bowlers going into the first Test match. I hope that doesn't happen, because I really do like the potential of 4+1 kind of a combination, with Shardul Thakur being the fourth pacer, and he could very well be counted as an all-rounder in that Test side, given his heroics in England and Australia, mainly Gabba in the recent years. So really going to be interesting. But if you ask me about the squad combination, I do agree with what Jin and Rav said about Hanuma Vihari and Ajinkya Rahane. I mean, the biggest indication that the team management has given about Rahane's place is that he's no more the vice captain. I mean, the only way he was making his way into the team was because of him being the vice captain. Now that Rohit's the vice captain, you might not be surprised to see Ajinkya Rahane being dropped in the first Test match itself. I know he's the most experienced apart from Kohli in that lineup, but I mean, let's face it, Shreyas Iyer, I think he deserves to be playing in that middle order, especially after what he's done in New Zealand series. I know a lot of people give me this argument that, oh, Iyer shouldn't be playing because he has a tendency against not playing well against the short ball. But you can't just write off a player just because of the stats in the previous game. I mean, with the same argument, you would just count out Rohit Sharma from the England series in the last English tour that we did because of his tendency to not play the swinging ball. And look how well he done over there. And mind you, Shreyas Iyer does have a 200 in Australia on similar kind of wickets against a quality Australian bowling attack back in 2017 as well. So I do want to see Shreyas Iyer starting ahead of Ajinkya Rahane. And as for Hanuma Vihari, it is going to be slightly very difficult for him, I guess, because Pujara may have just uh, got his way into the team after that second innings, 40 plus runs in Wankhede. So we'll see what happens. But I would definitely love to see Shreyas Iyer in that middle order.
That Shreyas Iyer and not being able to play the short ball, that's based on white ball cricket in Australia. And I don't think you can judge a guy the way he plays a short ball in a short form match where, the pressure's to score off that short ball. But, he could happily defend it, evade it. So, yeah, I agree with you. I'd definitely give him a chance.
And don't forget, there's he's going to be playing against two bowlers that he's played a lot against. I know it's different. Han's smiling, but in the IPL, obviously he will at least have had quite a lot of net experience against Nortje and Rabada, which is obviously, you wouldn't ignore that. And I think you'd say that his ability to find ways maybe against those two is something to watch.
Yes, indeed. Well, should Shardul Thakur play after his heroics at the Gabba? And I suppose winning at the Gabba isn't for everyone. Good morning, Barmy Army. Hope you're all well. So let's talk about the openers then, who we think our openers should be. Do we have a consensus over who should be opening? Because obviously we've got Rohit Sharma back in the squad, KL Rahul in the squad, and Mayank Agarwal. Now, Ahan, I know that you were a big advocate for Mayank Agarwal for a long time, and he played very well against New Zealand. So who would you go for with your openers?
I am a big advocate, but I also admitted at the end of the England tour that I was wrong about Rohit Sharma. So I will stick to that. Rohit Sharma should open with KL Rahul first up. I think he should get first go because he was good. He was influential in the England series. And then with Mayank, honestly, I would like to see India back the inform players. That includes playing people either Mayank or Vihari at 3 because they're both in form. They are coming off 100. But Mayank's coming off 100. Vihari's coming off runs in South Africa. So if either of those two could work. But I also just one quick point from earlier. I think people are overhyping the impact Jadeja has abroad. I don't think he's going to be as big a miss. Shardul at number 7, Ashwin at 8 is perfectly fine for a test lineup in South Africa for me. But yeah, for openers, I definitely go Rohit and KL.
Indeed. Well, you talk about the openers and who should be playing and stuff. So these are our big players, obviously, down there, the most experienced batsmen. We got Rohit Sharma averaging 21 in South Africa, Rahane averaging 32, and Pujara, good Lord Almighty, 16.66 in his tour of South Africa in 2018. Now, obviously, we've got Virat Kohli as well, who is going to weigh in quite heavily, you would imagine, with the batting. He fares a bit better, obviously. There you go. An average of 79.2 in his South Africa tour in 2018. So lots to offer with a high score of 160. And we are desperate to see another 100 from him. So, Sanchit, who would be your opening pair?
Well, I agree with Ahan there. I mean, KL and Rohit will be the go-to men, especially after what they did in England, and I would definitely back them to do it. And as far as the stats are concerned, I'm not sure how many matches in that statistics in South Africa did Rohit Sharma open the innings, because as far as I remember, before 2020 he was being tested in almost every place apart from the opening slot. So I'm not sure how to bank on those stats. I mean, yes, 21 average is a little bit to worry about, but given if you compare his opening stats and his stats in the middle order, I think they show a two different picture. So I'll definitely back Rohit and KL to do the job. Unlucky on Mayank. I know that we had this conversation even during the England tour and Australia tour, how he's been unlucky after a dominant home season, but that's just the way how it is with Indian cricket. There are lots of competition out there, and clearly, I mean, you have to reward KL and Rohit for the heroics that they did in England. So I will definitely start them in this tour.
Fair enough. Rav, your openers for this?
Yeah, very much the same. I think they're the men in possession. I think they've they had a really obviously good tour of England. I think they've more than anything, I think they've figured out a way to bat in challenging conditions and then take advantage later on. And I think they did that numerous times in England in terms of how they left the ball. I think Rohit specifically, his leaving of the ball was brilliant, and I think that it kind of laid the foundations to what was a very successful series for him. Obviously, KL, we know they kind of had different series. Rohit got stronger. KL kind of started very strong, and then towards the last two games kind of fell away a little bit. But I think that they definitely they deserve their spot in Centurion on Boxing Day.
Jinesh, your openers for the South Africa tour.
Rohit definitely, like everyone says, he's been a great revelation. Wouldn't take into account the stats last time. I think he's improved. KL Rahul, Mank, I think I'm indifferent between the two. I think abroad they'll probably be as bad as each other. Not expecting anything from either. I can see Pujara coming pretty earlier because I saw KL Rahul improve, but then it kind of reverted back to his old habits at Headingley and the Oval. So I don't know. For me, for him to prove himself, I think he has to do a bit more, and I hope it happens in South Africa, but time will tell.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Well, as we've mentioned, the bowlers have kind of been the main reason why we've been winning so well overseas. Our pace attack has been something of a revelation, and it was in England, it was in Australia, and we hope it will continue to be. So, Jasprit Bumrah's tour of South Africa in 2018, average of 25.7, best figures of 5 for 54. 23 wickets on that tour as well. So, Jasprit Bumrah as impressive as ever. Mohammad Shami also in with a decent run of 15 wickets and the best figures of 5 for 28 as well. So, a decent amount of fifers going in for all of our bowlers. Ishant Sharma, he was not quite as successful in South Africa, only 8 wickets and a best of 3 for 46, but he kind of is the workhorse of this attack now. So you'd imagine that he would still fare very well in those conditions. And so, we all kind of put our hopes and dreams on the pace attack. Ahan, obviously you are our Delhi Capitals representative number 1. You know about the South African pace attack. So how does our pace attack compare against the South Africans?
I mean, now actually, if we're being completely honest, there's only one South African left in Delhi Capitals, but we'll come to that in a different podcast. I think their pace attack obviously knows their conditions better. I would say slightly more rounded attack because they have someone bowling. I think Rabada, Noki, and Ngidi cover a lot of bases, but I think we're up there with them for sure in terms of what we offer them. I think if they play Duan Oliver, they have a left arm option, which we don't have, which we've not had for years since Zahir Khan retired. So if we can cover that in some way, then I think it's level. But I think if I'm not mistaken, that was Bumrah's debut series as well in terms of Test cricket. I think that's the first series he ever played. Yes. So the stats are pretty impressive for someone who is playing his first ever Test series. I think our bowling, really, I'm not concerned about our bowling. I think we'll be fine. Whether we play, Bumrah and Shami will probably play for sure, and then whether we play Ishant or Siraj, I'd honestly start Siraj. I don't think it's much of a difference. It's not much of a difference right now for me. So I think it's fine. I think our bowling will sort itself out.
Fair enough. Sanchit, what do you feel about our pace attack and how well they're going to fare in South Africa?
Well, definitely, Ashish. When you talk about India's space attack, if you have this same conversation with all of us before 2015, we would be having different conversation. But now the times have changed, and the Indian pace attack could very well be regarded as the best pace attack in the world right now, and it has been since 2017 or 18 or so. So pretty amazing to see this. And as Ahan said, whoever we start, I think we should be comfortable. We managed to beat Australia in Australia with a pace attack that just made their debut in that entire series. We won a series with the likes of Shardul Thakur, Natarajan, Navdeep Saini, and even Siraj, who made his debut. So I think we are in good hands when it comes to the pace attack. And as far as the bowling combinations go, I'll go with 4 pacers. Shardul deserves to start, and Bumrah and Shami, I think they are absolutely at their best. And as far as the last pacer is concerned, I'll go with Siraj. I know I have been very vocal about Mohammad Siraj right from the World Test Championship final. The podcast that we had before that, and I was the only one who talked about Siraj going ahead of Ishant in that match, and I'll go with that same way. I mean, the spell that he bowled, especially in the Wankhede just a few weeks back, the way how he got the crowd behind him, I mean, it was sensational. And also, when you talk about the Lord spell in that last innings on the last day, I mean, he gets you those kind of wickets whenever it doesn't go in your way, and he's the kind of bowler that Virat Kohli would love to lead, and it definitely starts off in my team, and he should be playing all the 3 matches. No disrespect to Ishan, but I think Siraj is going to be the key bowler for us with his cross seam deliveries, especially in the South African tour.
And Sanchit, I believe that you witnessed a little moment from Mohammad Siraj at the Wankhede test when some of the crowd were chanting RCB at him. Can you tell us what he did in response to that?
Yeah, so basically, I even tweeted about this, and not many people believed me, and I had lots of people going against me. They thought that I'm going against RCB, but basically, what happened was during the press conference, when the post-match presentation was going on near the MCA stand, so there was a group of people in the Divecha stand chanting RCB, RCB to a couple of RCB players, mainly Siraj for that matter, and then Siraj turned and looked at them, and he just pointed out the India logo. It was the BCCI logo. I don't know why he pointed it out, but he just pointed it out and asked the people to chant India, India. So it was pretty wholesome to see that, and it just shows the kind of a culture that this team has, especially in Test cricket, and really it feels good to hear those India chants after a long time.
Yes, indeed. Nice little moment that. Rav, the pace bowling attack. I was watching back some of the England series and watching Jasprit Bumrah's spell in that last test, which we won. I don't think we've ever seen an Indian fast bowler in our lifetime, at least, who's been that good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think just going back to the England series, I think everybody did very, very well. I agree about Siraj. I think he has to play all the games, and I think he has possession of the shirt over Ishant now going forward. He's also, he's able to bring and seam the ball both directions. So in terms of versatility, he's definitely, him and Shardul as well, who swings the ball, I think are going to be very useful. We've got very good seam bowlers. They will no doubt do the business, certainly in the first 2 games. But I think that having that variety, having somebody who can swing the ball in and out is going to be very, very useful. So yeah, I'll probably go for Bumrah, Shami, Ishan, Shardul, Ashwin would be my guys.
Fair enough. Ravi Ashwin makes your squad. Jin, does Ravi Ashwin make your team?
I don't know. It's all about combination, right? Whether they choose to go Shardul or Ashwin, how they go. It's all because of the batting. The batting's weak, so because of the weak batting, you have to think about who's going to give you them extra runs. That's why Jaddu always used to get the nod between the two. Look, bowling wise, no concerns. Whoever they pick, I think it's more about making sure you pick fresh bowlers. So I can't see the same 4 or 5 bowlers in each of the 3 tests, because they're kind of fairly they're not spaced out at all. So I think my biggest concern bowling wise is we now have a different bowling coach. So we've gone from Bharat Arun to, I think it's Paras Mambre. Now Bharat Arun he was a genius with his planning of how to get batsmen out, right? So we are now going to see, was it all him or was it the bowlers and him, right? So I think that's the only kind of unknown with the bowling attack. Like, what was the input from Bharat Arun when it came? Because it's well documented in Australia. He was given the task of how to get Smith and Labuschagne out from Ravi Shastri during lockdown, and he came up with the plans. Even like sometimes you'd see India kind of lackluster in a session, like between start of play and lunch, do nothing, and all of a sudden they come out, right, and they've got different plans. So I think that is going to be the key bowling wise. Like what changes has a change of coach meant to the Indian bowling unit?
Changes, everyone. Changes are happening in Indian cricket. And yes, Rahul Dravid and his team have taken over the coaching. So it's the first time that we will have an overseas tour happening under Rahul Dravid's coaching. And of course, we wish him well. But like I said, changes are happening, ladies and gentlemen. Changes are happening in Indian cricket. Good Lord Almighty, everyone. Have a swig of something, because we're going to get into this now. So we are playing not just a test series in South Africa, but also a T20 and an ODI series. The announcement then came out that, of course, Virat Kohli will be captaining the test team. However, the white ball series is going to be captained by Rohit Sharma, and we obviously knew that he was taking over the T20 team, as was announced in Virat Kohli's famous Instagram post, which he posted just before the T20 World Cup. However, it was also announced that Rohit Sharma will also be taking over the one-day team, the 50-over team. Now, that wasn't announced by anyone, even remotely close to Virat Kohli. So, my question to you guys is, firstly, what happened? And B, why did it happen? So, let's go over to Ahan first, because you're from Delhi. You've got to answer this first. What happened with this saga, and why has Virat Kohli been ousted from the 50-over captaincy?
I mean, I think, sorry, before that, I think I made one mistake which Rap pointed out to me. Oliver is right-handed. I was thinking about the other left-arm bowler that they have, Janssen. But apart from that, coming back to this, what happened and why it happened depends on which side of the fence you sit on and whose point of view you're willing to listen to and pay attention to. So, in my opinion, the way it happened and what happened was disrespectful and incorrect to one of the finest players that has ever played the game for India, and someone who has given India some of the greatest moments in its history. Let's not forget, people have this this narrative that has built up around Kohli that, oh, he doesn't win ICC tournaments. He's captained one World Cup ODI and one World Cup T20. And maybe one Champions Trophy where he made the finals. I don't think you can say he lost the finals because of his captaincy at all. Pakistan came out, scored 300 runs. After that, the game was practically done. The finals in 2019, fine. The semi-finals, we can debate about that. But I think if they were going to sack him after that, then they should have done it in 2019 or 2020. I do not see sitting today what has changed apart from the fact that he gave up T20 captaincy. And yeah, okay, I hear the argument that, he's given up T20 captaincy. You can't have, but I don't understand why you can't have split white ball captaincy for two players. I mean, at the end of the day, this is one of the finest players that has played the game for your team. And he's not a bad, he's a good captain. And I think he deserves the 23 World Cup to try and win his World Cup. Because I feel like now by doing this, you've not only lost a bunch of fans or you've disengaged a bunch of fans, but you've also undermine the legacy of who is probably going to end up being India's greatest ever Test captain, and also the legacy of one of India's greatest ever white ball batsmen.
Jinesh, has Virat Kohli been disrespected?
Look, a guy that was involved in the sacking of Anil Kumble, who was one of the biggest legends of Indian cricket and led to Anil Kumble being disrespected. I don't think we've got the argument of respect either way. However, I think this whole episode is the biggest issue in Indian cricket, right? Any other country, this wouldn't even be a debate. Move on, right? India and its fans especially have too much of an emotional attachment with individual players. So
as we can see with the comment on the screen right now, with Varnata saying this topic is heartbreaking. That's how hard this is to deal with.
There you go. So you basically, just highlighted my point. So in India, individuals, we have this emotional attachment to these individual players. For me, I support India, not players. And I believe India are due to leave for South Africa today. So hopefully we can get Virat Kohli's opinion on the whole thing. Because up until now, there's only been clarification from Ganguly, who said they did not want to drop him as white ball captain. Hence, he wasn't dropped in 2019. The reason they dropped him as captain is because he didn't want to do the 2020. And then he was convinced, they tried to convince him to do the 2020 and the 50-50. Once he said no, they did not want two leaders in white ball cricket. So I think that's a rational...
Why is that? This is only like a recent phenomenon, though, right? With the splitting of the captaincies.
Look, I agree with Ganguly. I just think white ball cricket in its main is played with the same group of players. So you don't want two different ideas in two different white ball games. But ultimately, if that conversation has happened, I don't think there's any disrespect, right? So that's my opinion on it. I think we have to wait on what Kohli says. Kohli can either say, yes, that is what happened, or he can stay silent and let everyone make their own stories up. That's the issue here. There's no clarity apart from what's come from Ganguly and the BCCI, albeit a day late.
Rav, my question is also, why has this happened now? Why not let Kohli just captain the 50-over team until the next World Cup, which is not that far away now? Why has this happened now?
So I think the big trigger point to this is obviously India's performance in the T20 World Cup and how bad it was. Because had India performed to the potential, to the expectation, I think there would be more people in the Virat camp obviously saying, well, actually, he's done well in the T20, so therefore, why doesn't he stay? I mean, for what it's worth, my opinion is that I have no problem with it being the same captain in both formats, because I think you're still talking about how you approach limited overs cricket as a whole. And if you look at, say, England now, and I know they didn't win the T20, but their model of and what got them to the 2019 World Cup was an evolutionary change across both formats. And that's what kind of has gotten to the world number one in both of them. So I think that I don't have an issue with the call. I have an issue with the way it was done, because I think that for somebody who, and Ahan's quite right in this, I think that you've got to also look at the resources and the tournaments that the captain has been given. He's obviously had one T20 and one 50-over World Cup. However, I think the other side of it also is that if you look back over the last kind of 2 years or so, you had obviously when MS was still in the side, he had quite a considerable influence in terms of on the field, etc. But it's sad because I think that I don't think Kohli is a poor white ball captain, but I think that clearly there is the impact of Rohit having won 6 IPLs and whatnot, and therefore I think there's a bit of agitation in the leadership of the BCCI that can we afford to miss out on this guy as a great captain? In a similar way, for example, you hear all the time Australia say, well, Shane Warne was the greatest captain Australia never had. And they don't want to take a chance where they don't at least see what that would look like. And obviously Rohit has captained in the past when VK has rested, such as the Asia Cup 2018, etc. And I think that clearly they want to make an aggressive move. But if you look at what I think Virat's coach has come out and said in the last few days, that he wasn't aware, etc., etc. I don't expect Kohli to come out and say anything because A, we're about to embark on a big test tour, and B, I don't think it's not really the done thing anyway for somebody who's in position with one of those captaincies. So I don't expect him to come out and make anything kind of clear unless the test series goes the wrong way and we get a kind of a press conference like we got last time at the final test match in South Africa, where Kohli got a bit spiky. So I think it's the right call. I think the way it's been done has not been terribly respectful in terms of sending out a tweet saying, "Oh, by the way, the captain is now Rohit Sharma," trying to just drag it under the feet of everybody. I don't think was the correct decision. And that's not the way to because they knew they'd done something wrong. Because immediately afterwards there were loads of tweets about oh, look at this amazing Virat 100 from a few years ago when he was captain, etc., etc. So they knew what they had done. And they handled it very, very poorly. So the key for me, and we've not said this yet, is we do not need this to affect the dynamic between the two of them in Test cricket. We need them to work as a team, because it's going to be quite unsettling for Virat, knowing that also he's been elevated to the vice captaincy of the Test side, so he's really one step behind being the all formats captain, which is quite ironic because we've just removed VK from an all formats captaincy as well. So I think. He will be. I think Virat's going to. He's going to have a lot of thinking, because he probably thinks that, hang on, my mould in the ODI side is gone, and then in the Test side, I've got kind of Rohit literally right behind me now. So I think it's going to be quite interesting. I hope it doesn't play out in the Test series in any way, and I hope the team can kind of deal with it. Dravid has obviously got a key part to play in this, because for what it's worth, I trust Rahul Dravid implicitly with Indian cricket, and there's no way he didn't agree to this decision. So I think we also have to represent that and look at the fact that Indian cricket needs to make the best decisions going forward. I think it's the right decision, but I think the way they did it leaves a lot to be desired.
The thing with red ball cricket, though, is what he has in red ball cricket is results to back him up, which he did not have from tournament perspective in white ball cricket. And the other thing about this respect is, we don't know behind the scenes what has happened, because I'll give you a scenario where VK potentially has disrespected the game, is where he's gone to the BCCI and said, okay, I'm resigning from 2020. BCCI have said, okay, we don't want two separate white ball captains, so resign from 50-50. And he's point blanketly refused, and put the ball in BCCI court, saying, okay, I've got a 70% win-loss ratio, you try and sack me. And that's exactly what BCCI have done. So there's two ways of looking at this respect story, and until Kohli, and he probably won't come out with it, but I just think ex-coaches or junior coaches, etc., they try to get in the news. So until it comes from VK, I think it's a non-issue now.
Well, Sanchit, I'm going to give you the last say on this topic on quite a turbulent chapter in Indian cricket.
Yeah, well, I think a lot has been said and done about this particular topic on this panel and in the last few weeks or so. So I wouldn't like to comment too much about it. But personally, I really don't agree with what has happened and how it has happened mainly. I mean, if BCCI or any communication from the management was clear enough on the day when it was announced, I think it wouldn't have created a chaos like what it is today. I felt that the way it was handled, it was really not good. I mean, the way they just announced out of the blue, like Rohit Sharma is the captain, without even a thank you tweet to Kohli. I think that was where it all went down, to be very honest. I mean, I do get the point of why do they want this split captaincy debate currently that is going on, and why do they want one captain for limited overs and one captain for Test. But I felt that they could have been a little bit more clear when it was announced, to be very honest. And when you don't be clear regarding such news, I think that is when you allow other media outlets to dictate terms and create chaos in the media. That's what I feel. So I personally don't agree with what has happened. I do believe that Kohli should have stayed as the ODI skipper and let Rohit do what he does best in the T20 format. But if BCCI wanted this move to be done, then now we have to just move on from this, and because we have a good amount of time to finally break that jinx of not lifting an ICC trophy. I mean, we could just if we have two ways, we could just talk about what has happened in the last few weeks, or we could just move on from this and build a new team, because we have an ICC event almost every year now till 2030. So we have to back whoever is leading the team. And what I really don't want right now is just a humble request to all the cricket fans who are watching, whether you are a Rohit fan, whether you are a Kohli fan, at the end of the day, you are an Indian fan. So
100%.
it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen that just because Rohit Sharma is the captain, you want the Indian team to lose, and then you will be like, oh, I told you so. Oh, Virat Kohli should have been the captain, otherwise this shouldn't have happened, and vice versa. I really didn't like when Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma fans did the same when Virat Kohli was there. At the end of the day, we are all Indian fans. No matter who is leading the team, no matter who is at the top, you are all here to support the team that is representing the national team in the ICC tournament. So even if it was someone unknown leading the team, you would 100% need to back that player. So that is what I really have to say. I mean, what has been done. Now we should just look forward and look to create history in South Africa and then build on towards the ICC tournament that is coming up.
100%.
That is all the time we have on this week's episode of the Fan Dusa, everyone. And the BCCI didn't thank him, but from all of us at the Bharat Army, thank you, Virat Kohli, for everything that you did in the ODI captaincy. And we will see you all on next week's podcast, everyone. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.